This isn't just a new currency, it's the start of something bigger. Let's see what's been happening in the game so far and how the community is being affected. First off though, we need to understand what is it? What is Intel? Well, Intel is the current version of the limited currency that we're using right now in Chapter 1 of the Age of Annihilus. The next logical question we could ask then is, where does it come from? In many ways, we get it just from playing the game. We have it as rewards when we do our raids. We get it as part of our payouts for Arena. We get it for awards in Alliance War. And obviously there's always some type of event going on inside of the command center that will give us Intel also. It was also mentioned that Intel is indeed a limited time currency, so how long will it last? The answer is easy to find. If we go to the Intel store, we look right at the top, it says Chapter 1 Intel and there is a timer. So when we made this video, it's more than 2 months left. So we don't want to be pressed for time. The reason though that we're making this video is, what is this currency for? Why is it here? Why did they make adjustments to put it in the game? In most cases, I would say that the majority of the community is going to be using the Intel store at present to either buy gear tier 20 pieces or to get character shards of the newest characters. As the Intel store was starting to make its way into the game, all the older currencies, the legacy currencies, got converted into shop credits. There was a blog post April 24th that showed the conversion rate of how that would happen. One of the things that is still a little bit unclear is how will newer players acquire these shop credits. They're needed to get the legacy items, right? We see we can get some as we're leveling up. It looks like they're going to make some available during the early levels of the newest showcases, but is this enough to sustain the new player economy? Something else that we also need to consider. Now, why was the change made in the first place? Pretty easy. One, to simplify the currency system in the game. There were a lot of dead currencies. They're trying to limit hoarding and encourage player engagement. That leads us to a very obvious question. Should you be spending your Intel currency? Now, obviously, the answer is yes, but the way we do it, I think, is going to depend on where we are in the game. Probably the most important factor in answering that question is where we are as far as unlocking Professor X. There's people that already have him, there's people that are still on the way, and there's individuals that he's not even an option, right? There's newer players that it will be quite some time before they get a hold of Professor X. In all three of those situations, we're gonna find that people are spending their Intel currency differently. So for example, many of the community are probably in my shoes where we're still trying to track down Professor X. We know that these pieces cost about 40,000 Intel, these unique pieces, and I try to keep that in the bank if I have it, right? The shop is going to reset 3 times a day, so that's 120,000 Intel. I try to keep that on hand, right? You can only do what you can do. If I have more than that, then maybe I'll buy some character shards or something of that nature. If we switch over to the shop credits, for most of us as endgame players, we really are just using that to get the new characters, right? When they put the new characters farmable, like Falcon Joaquin here, then we usually are just using our shop credits to go after those characters. Most of the time, gear pieces and things like that we have in abundance, so we don't really need to use the shop credits for too much. However, there is one legacy currency that did not get converted, and that is our Battle World currency. So it wasn't used a little bit, so even mine is starting to stack up. But again, we generally speaking are just going to be targeting those characters that are put in the Battle World store, and maybe a purple ISO piece or 2 if we need that to go up to the next level. So I think things are different if you are a newer player and you don't have any way to get Xavier in the near future, right? This account is level 95. I can't even put the red gear on yet. So I'm focusing on the raid characters, the newer raid characters. So I would get Hyperion here, Songbird, Victoria Hand, Hitmonkey, Silver Sable, and that might change depending on when you're watching this video. I don't really have intel to grab them all right now, but that's what I would do, starting from the newest team going to the oldest. And I wouldn't do it very often, but there are indeed times that if I can get one of those characters to purple ISO 3, and I need one of these pieces to do it, I would spend intel on occasion if I'm just like 1 or 2 pieces short to get them to that level 3 of purple ISO so they can qualify for the more difficult raid. Beyond that, the shop credits have help from the new player's perspective. I do think they have help. For example, in the Blitz store here, Jean Grey, I'm picking her up. We might want to grab some other people. If we were working on Astral, the Ancient One would be there as well. And then if I scroll down, I'm getting Sunfire because I'm trying to finish off that Alpha Flight team to make them strong enough to get through their section in the Spotlight raid. Some people might also still be working on Electra at this point in time. Now that's more than one purchase. And in the old system, I would probably be out of Blitz credits for that. I would probably only be able to acquire one a day. But since I have a cache now of the shop credits, I can go after multiple characters that I need without worrying about running out of currency. The raid store, we didn't really have a deficit of credits in the raid store in the past, so I can go after Hercules here. But since the characters that pop up are random, I didn't really run out of raid credits in the past. We might need to go after some of these other pieces as we power up our characters, but I hadn't run into a deficit in the past when it came to the raid store. The war store was starting to even out. So we're going to get these level 3 training modules, and we're going to go after the newest character. In this case, it's Falcon Joaquin. We're just going to be grabbing him every day. Again, I don't think that I had ran into too much of a deficit. We probably did a little bit if we needed to grab more than one thing. So again, I need Falcon Joaquin, I need Sasquatch. We're going to get those training modules. So I would agree that, yeah, this is probably something that is definitely better for our newer players. You have the opportunity to get any and all the characters that you need. Falcon here is an option. I haven't started working on him yet because I'm not to that point in the raid. But again, now we don't have to make the decision on what we're going to go after. We don't have to slow farm things if we have the amount of credits that we need. So I might have said arena earlier. This is the last one was the arena store. This is the war store. Similar situation. I can get the stuff for Blade here because I have Blade unlocked. If we had other characters unlocked, we could go after that. And then all I really need for me right now is Forge. And then the rest of the characters are not a whole lot that you need to go after. So our war credits probably were sufficient. But as we flip over to the Crucible store, this was probably the most difficult for newer players to farm because you needed the gold Crucible credits when it came to getting character shards, and that was just tough to come by. You could win, you could move up the ranks in Crucible really easy, but that currency was depleted very fast. So now with the multiple characters that you need here to finish off teams, that was really the hard part. So Blade, I'm picking him up every day now, but I would need, in this case, if you're still building, you need a Lady Deathstrike, you need Agatha Harkness, Nightcrawler appears in here. So there were multiple characters that you need. And after a couple days, right, you did your Cosmic Crucible runs, and then after 1 or 2 days after Crucible was over, you were out of currency. So now we don't have to worry about that. That is no longer the case. The one area on the new player side that we're still going to have to build into is the Battle World store, the Seed Shop. As you see, I'm out of Battle World currency, so I would be trying to farm Howard the Duck and Havoc here, but I just don't have any currency. Battle World returns every month, so we'll see what happens, but I know that I run out before we get to the next Battle World Siege on the new player side of things. As we get stronger and perhaps as we're able to take on stronger and stronger versions of the boss, maybe we'll get more and more currency that will be able to last throughout the month. But at present, I'm not there yet. But the Battle World currency is its own currency. It is not shop credits. So the items in here are meant to be still a little bit more rare. Now, we did note in a recent blog post that red stars and diamonds are going to be coming to the Intel store. We're gonna have to see how this functions, but it does show that there's changes still being made. And so because of that, since it's still a dynamic system, we want to be alert to what the best information is, what the newest information is, and see how we can take advantage of that for our accounts. But since information is relative, we went ahead and talked to the community. We got in touch with a lot of different people to see where they are in their progress and how that affects their use of the Intel currency. We're going to talk to people in those same 3 groups. We got people that aren't really anywhere in the hunt for Professor X because their account is newer. So we're going to talk to some newer players. We got people that are in the hunt for Professor X. And then we have people that already have him acquired and see how the Intel store is being used by everyone differently. Now, this is a very, very important subject that we got right here. This is a conversation that's happening in our new player alliance, Motivation No Cap. And so many of the people here are new players. We have Raging Cajun. He is a new player in the sense that he has a new player account, but he's also an experienced player, right? He has an endgame account. He has a secondary account here in Motivation No Cap. So we need to understand that in the lens of what's going on. He is an experienced player, but yet he's having problem with the Intel store. So note, he says that we need a video on the lack of shop credits killing new player progress. None of the content creators are shining light on this issue. So when he said that, I said, hey, we should go ahead and start putting a video together. So I want to understand more. He asked the question, it's a legit question, right? Why are we not getting shop credits for Blitz, War, Raid, Arena, Cosmic Crucible? We used to get store credits for each individual store. Now our only source of shop credits is leveling and running the first mission of the Accursed Showcase. So obviously you're going to come to an end with the leveling feature. You will not be able to do that, and definitely you'll hit the end game at some point. So that will then leave only, right, if this just the showcases that we're going to be farming, is that enough to sustain the new player economy? So we have another member of our alliance there, Vice. He says he has also run out of shop credits. So then the options would be to sacrifice the Intel shop currency to make them shop credits, or just farm the new stuff like everyone else. Obviously, as Raging Cajun brings out, hey, let's not be converting our shop credits, right? That's not what we want to do. Don't convert your Intel into shop credits. That option is available, but that is not the appropriate way to go about it. So we just want to flag that, just as he flagged that here. And Vice just says he's not doing that, but since it's an option, right, people might try it. So again, we just want to encourage people to not use your Intel currency to turn that into shop credits. I would wait, unless that's something that's absolutely necessary. I would wait to see if we can find out some other option in the meantime. So let's go ahead and continue the conversation. See, I'm curious, right? How are we out of the shop credits? Okay, I can't really speak from the standpoint from my account because I still have some. But if you played the game before people got the conversion, is it possible that you could run out? How does this work? How did this happen? Right? So I asked him, how did you run out? Right? So Vice, he said he had 2 million of the currency. So I'm assuming that means, I'm making an assumption here, that means that he was started probably shortly after the conversion. He got the 2 million that everybody got in the mail. And he said, because until you hit about 65, you can build multiple teams. The limiting factor at that point is not gear, it's not gold, it's not training materials, but it's shards for the characters. Higher levels, he appreciates that what's going to happen is going to change to training materials will be the bottleneck, but he's trying to flesh his roster out, right? He used up all he had from buying character shards, right? That in itself isn't bad. He was able to do it faster because he had the shop credits, but once the well is dry. So again, people might have comments on this, but this is the point. Once people run out, what is the recourse? What's the option, right? Same deal with Raging Cajun. He was at 2.5 million after the conversion, buying only character shards and gear for raid and arena team characters. Now, once again, I want to stress Raging Cajun, he has a new player account, but he is an experienced player. So he was focusing his efforts on the most important things, raid characters and his arena team. And he's out of currency. So again, really, really, really interested in hearing your comments on this, especially as new players. I know Scopely is taking some feedback on this right now. So if you have any good feedback, any good suggestions on what they can do, right? We can't say this is stupid, fix your game. That's not good feedback. Feedback is, hey, we need a solution. Here's an idea. This is an appropriate solution. This is something that I think you should look into. That type of information, you can leave it here or put it in the main Marvel Strike Force Discord, or hey, both would be appropriate. Then we got Snow Wayne, and also he is also a member of Motivation No Cap. So he said he's at 4.5 million, or he was at 4.5 million, has now spent down to about 1.9. So he's not making forward progress, right? He's losing currency. So he says, I agree. I don't understand why we don't get shop credits when we used to get all the individual legacy credits. So again, it's just something to consider. And as always, we really want to hear from you, from different members of the community. It's important because people are in different spots, they're in different places. So we need to get those different viewpoints to help make the game smooth running for as many people as possible. We have a quote here from the Big Positive Geek. He says, I love the Intel store and I think it's great. What is bad about it is the advice coming out from players. I heard in a video today someone saying that you want to make sure by the end of the chapter you have spent all of your intel. I actually think this will be bad advice, especially if the trickle down of characters to the legacy store happens. I think giving general advice on the Intel store is going to be hard, as it really is an individual journey and will change depending on the account you're on. I think that needs to be the clearest thing said in this video. And so we tried to echo that. We tried to make sure we echo that because I do agree. This is one of the troubling parts of the game. A lot of times there's blanket advice and sometimes it's just not, it doesn't work, right? So right here, even in this video, we're trying to separate people into 3 categories. But there's individuals that are just starting the game right now. What happens if you missed completely out on a conversion? You don't get that 2 million stimulus. What is a brand new player? How is that going to work going forward? As we know that these new stores are not part of the development of the game. It's fine. It's good to talk about, but it's also good to make sure that we're not giving that blanket advice because we're not 100% sure how things are going to evolve. The store is indeed a good idea. I think it fixes a lot of problems. We got to be careful about giving that blanket advice. So let's now move forward to people who are in the hunt for Professor X. If you're in the hunt for Professor X, how do you view the legacy store, or excuse me, the Intel store? So we got Newt, he's our alliance leader. We're going to get him on the channel in the near future to kind of talk about how to build an alliance. But he says here, I like you can farm G20 or the option to choose shards for characters without paying. Does help the free to play. Spectra, another endgame player, still in the hunt. I wish you could have 1 to 2 more slots for Gear 20 minis. The RNG factor can be too slow, and often I go several days without the piece I need popping up. So folks, if you're still in the hunt for Professor X, does that echo your sentiments? How do you feel about the legacy store? We'd like to hear more on the discussion. Please continue it in the comments below. So then what happens if you already have acquired Professor X? How do those individuals view the Intel store? So we have Evan B here. Now keep in mind, Evan is taking the lead in the player voice movement at the moment. So again, going to the player voice Discord to talk about this is an excellent opportunity. There's also focus groups, right? So if you're a brand new player, they could definitely put you in a focus group to help keep track of this information. It can get all compiled. There's other things that they can keep track of. So I would encourage you to make sure to get over there if you haven't already and talk about this in a nice, kind, and responsible manner so the information can get back to Scopely. Now, regarding individuals like Evan, this is what he says. He says, it certainly puts getting the accursed character shards on the table. I've basically just held all the intel I've got since unlocking Professor X, and I'll see. With the gear I got from the Odin event and from the Professor X unlock, I unlocked them roughly a day before the Odin event ended. I took Professor X up and Mephisto up, and that's it. So I'm trying to hold more Mystic gear for Accursed maybe, and to be determined on the rest. So he's trying to plot his progression path. Again, very curious if other people are in this situation. I'd like to hear how you're approaching the Intel store. Dorky Dad, he says, once unlocking Professor X, it made me feel as though I could start using the intel on some MVP characters for new teams to fast track them up the star rankings, like Songbird and soon Helverine. Otherwise, it's still G20 to the moon. I do not have any of the awakening abilities currently in the store either. So that's how much value G20 and Overpower have if you enjoy PvP. We have some quotes here from Desir and Denman. Denman is one of the newest members to the Envoy community. Let's see what these individuals had to say. Desir said, "I'm still just buying gear 20, but I'm more selective." I was just mentioning that I only have, I think, one gear tier 20 character. So I was asking how he's doing things. We jump down to the bottom there, and Desir says, "Yeah, since I've completed Xavier, I've taken up Hitmonkey for skill, Old Man Logan for mutant, Songbird for bio, and then Null, Quasar, Helverine, and Juggernaut for mystic. Still working on the last few pieces for Fred. Outstanding." Denman said, "I'm still only buying G20 in the Intel store. Not saying I won't entertain diamonds when they arrive depending on the price. But G20 remains my focus because I'm highly interested in Crucible." We have a quote here from Johnny, the person who was the first in the Marvel Strike Force community to get Professor X. What does the wise one have to say? "I only get gear 20 from the Intel shop." Thanks for the quote, brother. In fact, thanks to everyone who responded. Now it helps us to have a much clearer view of how the Intel store is affecting the community. Now, we just got to stress, it's not just a store, right? This is going to be something Marvel Strike Force is using going forward. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. So make sure you comment on things that could be helpful and things that could be adjusted. Listen, I want to encourage everybody, if you haven't looked at this video right here yet, this is from Big Positive Geek. It's part of his Build Positively series. It shows you how many characters you can actually build up in a month and how you would go about doing that to take advantage of the resources best you can with your account.